Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. If you happen to be new here, I'm Tasha Julie and I'm an LA-based fashion stylist with an emphasis around helping both my personal styling clients and my YouTube viewers get dressed more easily, look great doing it, all while stepping out of the endless hamster wheel of overconsumption. That being said, everything that I mentioned in the video will be linked in the description box below, but I've also included a free before you buy it checklist. That way you can kind of do a little rundown and make sure if you are purchasing new that it is going to be the right fit for you and that it's for the right reasons, because I am not here to push overconsumption on anyone. It's a lot easier to be more creative and work with what you have rather than just buying an endless pile of things. So in today's video, I've got 5 easy airport outfits for you. These are things that I've curated through trial and error. Pre-pandemic, I was on a plane probably at least 3 times a week. So I kind of do know what I'm talking about when it comes to airport travel. And there are a lot of things that go into it. You need something that is functional because there's so much walking, there's so much sitting, and then there's also the change in climate from where you're going to where you're landing. There's also restrictions on what you can bring on the plane, how much your bag can weigh. So we're working with a lot of things that are probably not in our favor. So it can be nice to have an outfit that is comfortable, it feels good on your body, but it also doesn't look overly shabby. You feel a little bit more chic and put together. So I've taken into consideration all of those weird variables that could be working against you when you're traveling and put together 5 airport outfits. All right, so let's get into these looks, starting with this one of my more recent favorites to the collection of what I like to refer to as airport uniforms. I've worn all of the outfits in this video to the airport at one point or another, but this one has become a more recent favorite because the pants were a recent purchase. I wore this look specifically earlier this year when I had to fly to Atlanta. I did some work for the presidential debate, and if you know anything about Atlanta, you know it's warm and humid, and of course it did not disappoint. So I needed something that was comfortable and functional for the flight, but also going to be okay in different weather. So I wanted to layer up in a way that was comfortable for me leaving LA, being on the plane where it's always a million different temperatures. So I am layered up and also monochromatic, which is another one of my style tips in general. If you want to look a little bit more chic and put together in kind of an effortless way, I think sticking with tonal colors can really make that a lot more easy. But let's talk about the layers that we've got going on here. This is a denim, there, now you guys can tell. This is a darker denim wash bomber jacket. The sweater is navy, although it might be coming off black on camera. And then the pants are kind of a grayish navy. And then also, just in case, I've got a t-shirt on underneath all of this, because you never know. Is it going to be extremely hot or extremely cold, but you're only allowed to bring a couple of things and you want to look decent. So this, I think, really foots the bill for that, even though I just kind of gave you guys a geometry problem. This is one of my very, very favorite newest additions to my airport uniforms. And I think it's largely in part to these pants. They are so comfortable. They are lightweight. They are so comfortable. They almost feel like a chamois or suede. They are just fantastic. And they're also, of course, stretchy and breathable, which is another thing that I really want when I'm traveling. So altogether, a very comfortable, very functional outfit, but something that doesn't look kind of like, you know, shabby or not put together. So another favorite. All right, guys, so here's the way that I would break down an outfit formula or equation of what goes into an airport look that is comfortable, functional, and all of the things. So I like to start with my feet. I'm gonna need my shoes to be comfortable because there's so much walking at airports these days. There have been times where I've landed and been like, I think I've walked like at least 3 miles after everything was said and done. So shoes have to be comfortable. And this next thing is just my preference. I personally do not like to wear open-toed shoes to an airport. I'm kind of a germaphobe, and with the restrooms kind of being notoriously dirty, open-toed shoes, like there's a lot of stuff going on in airports. So I don't really prefer that. I'm gonna need a closed-toe comfortable shoe. And then the bottom, leggings, trousers, sweatpants, anything like that works. But my other personal preference is I don't enjoy bare legs on an airplane seat. So I won't usually do shorts or a skirt or anything like that. And the last part of the equation is gonna be some sort of layer, both for functionality, because it's gonna be hot, cold, and everywhere in between on your trip. But I also think that an additional layer adds that certain element of chicness. It takes a very casual, comfortable outfit and kind of amps it up a little bit so that you're not looking like ultra shabby wandering through the airport. It might be 4 in the morning, everybody's in their pajamas, I get it. So the key is to try to get something that feels like pajamas but doesn't necessarily look like it. Because I did spend so much time flying, I ended up with a little list of things that just really did not work for me that I kind of learned through trial and error. So you can learn from my mistakes and not suffer like I did. And unfortunately, jeans were one of the things that ended up on the do not fly list. They tend to kind of be stiff and rigid throughout the waist, which doesn't make them super comfortable for long-term sitting, which is exactly what we're doing on an airplane. But I found a little workaround with this pair. These are elastic drawstring waist. I know that doesn't sound terribly sexy, but they're a lot more comfortable than regular jeans, and they are this nice kind of barely there thin breathable fabric. So they're a lot more flexible than regular jeans. But from the outside looking in, it is jeans, sneakers, blazer, t-shirt. So it's a little bit more chic of an airplane look, but it's still just as comfortable as sweats and anything else that you might typically wear to the airport. The addition of the blazer makes the whole look a little bit more chic, but it's also functional because you know it's gonna get cold in that airplane cabin. So you can always grab this and throw this on mid-flight when they crank up the AC. I also love to toss it on before I get off the plane. That way, as I'm stumbling out of the plane, feeling like a zombie, at least I'm kind of not looking like one. So it's a little bit more put together. It feels a little bit more chic, but it's also at the end of the day comfortable, functional, and yeah. There are so many restrictions when it comes to flying. You've got the weight of your suitcase, how many things you can bring on as far as carry-ons, but you've also got challenges like weather, where you're going versus where you're coming from, and the fact that the temperature's all over the place while you're on the plane. So there are a ton of things that can kind of go wrong. But this outfit is not only pretty cute, it's also solution oriented. So let me break down what we've got going on here. We've got a puffer vest. So if you get cold, or if it's cold where you're going, you can also, of course, take it off while you're on the plane. And then this shirt puts the fun back in functional because it's got these cool little kind of like glove sleeve details. And then the boots, they are a major solution-oriented thing. So perhaps it is snowing where you're going. These boots are going to be functional for that sort of thing. But they're also great because let's say you've packed your whole suitcase and then you've got these chunky boots and you're like, these are just not going to fit in there. You can wear them to the airport. And then the last solution-oriented part of this look is, let's just say, like speaking of bulky things you don't want to put in your suitcase, and it's also probably snowing or drastically colder where you're going. You've got your big overcoat. Kind of like the boots, by having this big old overcoat with you, you've kept it out of your bag, so you freed up some space, but it's also really going to be something you're thankful you've got with you when you land and it happens to be snowing outside. This looks a great example of how to wear layers to the airport without looking like Joey wearing all of Chandler's clothes.
Look at me! I'm Chandler. Could I be wearing any more clothes?
So this is a look that I reach for when I feel like doing the least. I've got one of those crazy travel days where perhaps I have to get up really early, I'm going to have a really long flight, I'm going to land in a different time zone, perhaps early in the morning, and there's just a lot going on, so I really kind of feel like doing the least. But then I remember that I'm gonna land at some point and I'm gonna have a face-to-face conversation, human interaction with more than one person. So then I'm like, all right, Tasha, we're not gonna go to the airport looking completely terrible. This is the look that I reserved for that. It's doing the least when I know that I have to do the most, if that makes sense. So it still has all the working parts of the equation as far as comfort and functionality goes. And I've got this warm little cozy layer. I would be comfortable even just sleeping in this on the plane. And then also kind of a wild card, I did a tank top with this because sometimes when I'm flying, I find that the cabin is like roasting hot. It's usually cold, but sometimes there are moments where I'm like, oh God, why is it so hot in here? So this kind of covers all the bases in regard to that. So for those days where I know that I'm just gonna have a lot going on and I wanna do the least, this is what I find myself reaching for. It's especially great for that comfort early in the morning or really late at night. So one solution we didn't discuss is leaving somewhere with cooler temperatures and going somewhere tropical and more warm, which I think a lot of people are doing this time of year. So I do have a solution for that as well. And luckily it's an easy one because the pieces are small. You're gonna wanna take a dress. I normally prefer like a midi length. That way I'm not like wilding out when I get off the plane in some mini dress or something that's crazy over the top, but like a comfortable maxi or midi length dress. Roll it up so it's super tiny. Then you can take a pair of summer sandals, smack them together so they're little tiny ones like this, throw those in your bag. And then I usually prefer to change in the airport bathroom when I land. That way I'm not in that tiny kind of dirty airplane bathroom. That way I'm all set. So if I leave in something like this and I land somewhere where it's really, really warm and tropical, I can just pop into the restroom when I land and throw that on. That way I don't end up having to sweat my rear off until I get to the hotel because I've got some fleecy thing with like Ugg boots and all of that. So that's my one solution that we didn't cover in the video, landing somewhere super tropical and warm. But I think that if you throw a dress into your bag and then some little sandals, you'll be covered in that regard too. So that's all I've got for you in today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe before you go, and I hope to see you soon in another video. And until then, be well.